Macmillan Audio presents Home by Marilynne Robinson. Read for you by Maggie-Meg Reed. "Home to stay, Glory. Yes," her father said, and her heart sank. He attempted a twinkle of joy at this thought, but his eyes were damp with commiseration. "To stay for a while this time," he amended, and took her bag from her, first shifting his cane to his weaker hand. Dear God, she thought. Dear God in heaven. So began and ended all her prayers these days, which were really cries of amazement. How could her father be so frail? And how could he be so recklessly intent on satisfying his notions of gentlemanliness, hanging his cane on the railing of the stairs so he could, dear God, carry her bag up to her room? But he did it, and then he stood by the door, collecting himself. "This is the nicest room, according to Mrs. Blank." He indicated the windows. "Cross-ventilation? I don't know. They all seem nice to me." He laughed. "Well, it's a good house." The house embodied for him the general blessedness of his life, which was manifest, really indisputable, and which he never failed to acknowledge, especially when it stood over against particular sorrow. Even more frequently after their mother died, he spoke of the house as if it were an old wife, beautiful for every comfort it had offered, every grace through all the long years. It was a beauty that would not be apparent to every eye. It was too tall for the neighborhood, with a flat face and a flattened roof and peaked brows over the windows. "Italianate," her father said, but that was a guess or a rationalization. In any case, it managed to look both austere and pretentious, despite the porch her father had had built on the front of it to accommodate the local taste for socializing in the hot summer evenings, and which had become overgrown by an immense bramble of trumpet vines. It was a good house, her father said, meaning that it had a gracious heart, however awkward its appearance. And now the gardens and the shrubbery were disheveled, as he must have known, though he rarely ventured beyond the porch. Not that they had been especially presentable even while the house was in its prime. Hide-and-seek had seen to that, and croquet and badminton and baseball. "Such times you had," her father said, as if the present slight desolation were confetti and candy wrappers left after the passing of some glorious parade. And there was the oak tree in front of the house, much older than the neighborhood or the town, which made rubble of the pavement at its foot and flung its imponderable branches out over the road and across the yard, branches whose girths were greater than the trunk of any ordinary tree. There was a torsion in its body that made it look like a giant dervish to them. Their father said if they could see as God can, in geological time, they would see it leap out of the ground and turn in the sun and spread its arms and bask in the joys of being an oak tree in Iowa. There had once been 4 swings suspended from those branches, announcing to the world the fruitfulness of their household. The oak tree flourished still, and of course there had been and there were the apple and cherry and apricot trees, the lilacs and trumpet vines and the daylilies. A few of her mother's irises managed to bloom. At Easter she and her sisters could still bring in armfuls of flowers, and their father's eyes would glitter with tears, and he would say, "Ah, yes, yes," as if they had brought some memento, these flowers only a pleasant reminder of flowers. Why should this staunch and upright house seem to her so abandoned, so heartbroken? The eye of the beholder, she thought. Still, 7 of her father's children came home as often as they could manage to, and telephoned, and sent notes and gifts and crates of grapefruit. Their own children from the time they could grasp a crayon and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?